You'll never find another parent who was more dedicated than Colleen.
Thank you, Alvin.
You're welcome, baby. She went across the country. Now I'm telling you that we're not rich. You know, we're living off my salary. Take your sunglasses off, dear. And we went across the country. We left with $350 because we had just had the the most
Worst court date ever?
the worst court date ever. We went in, look. I don't even want to go there actually about the court date um, because it was nasty what they pulled that day. So we packed up the car, we went across the country for her children, and with $350. By the time we got to Calgary, we had spent the money on gas. Um,
Not all of it.
well, most of it, you know, and the journey across the country was funded by the people of Canada, literally. Um, People would donate little bits of money to help us get to the next town. And when we eventually got to Toronto, we ended up meeting a lot of people who had been in similar situations and have been doing this a lot longer than we have. And, you know, that was kind of disheartening to find out that this has been going on that long. But like I said earlier, you know, there's a reason why this happened. And it's because the stronger people are starting to wake up. You know, they're picking on the wrong people now because I believe that, you know, the foster care program, in my opinion, the foster care program needs children, and they need to fuel the machine. And that's, I've said this a number of times in other videos, that our children are just fuel for a machine. And they'll get those children, and if they can't get them from the lower class and from the natives, then they'll start picking on the middle class, and then it'll go up the line. But it'll stop where the money starts coming because they can't afford to have, you know, a long, lengthy fight with somebody who has money because you know, they're just not into that because that means that evidence would have to be produced and things like this. And this is what we've learned over the last 5 years, folks. You know, that, you know, children can be taken away from families with little or no evidence whatsoever of any wrongdoing. And if you think it's easy to fight when you have no money, you've got another thing coming. You've got to have a lot of determination, a lot of hope. You have to have a lot of support between the two couples. You know, like I mean,
If you have.
Excuse me, Alvin, but poor people are entitled to legal representation in this country. We have legal aid, which is free.
yeah, but that does, you only get 10 hours of free money from legal aid.
And if you make, you know, there's a
Isn't
cutoff
that
for how
enough?
much.
That's not nearly enough. I mean, you're going to spend hundreds of hours in court, and there's going to be research because evidence has to be brought forward, and that evidence is not researched by the lawyer because he's always in court. That has to be done by legal assistants and other people in his office, and you know, you can eat up 10 hours of legal aid money, which is allotted to you for research and material, and a certain amount of money for materials and stuff like that, like
So
doctors' documents and things, because your medical history, $600, $700 to get your medical history from a hospital. Now,
So what are you trying
that
to say, Alvin? You're trying to say poor
the
people
oh
on legal aid are not going to get a fair trial? They're not going to get proper legal representation?
no, they'll get a lawyer who wants to solve this quickly, and
Try
he'll
to get you to consent, maybe, or
and he'll
do
say,
it the
hey,
fast
listen,
way.
you know, you consent to this, and then things will start going your way because they'll see that you're trying to cooperate. But that's the
Heard that
wrong.
a few times.
That's the wrong thing to do because that's exactly the process that they want to start. Is that the longer that they have your children in their care, the more likely it is that you will never get them back. Because what they're going to be trying to do is build a case against you. You know, and like we said earlier in the interview, They're not there to find information about anything good about you. They want to find all the negative stuff, and they're going to bring that in front of the judge. So I mean, if they sit down to you and to say, what kind of drugs and how much do you drink, and you're supposed to be honest with them, of course, and you just mentioned that you smoke a little bit of marijuana, or you have a couple of beers, or maybe when you were 14 you did cocaine and this, that, and the other thing. Well, you can kiss your children goodbye and give
Because
them a good.
they're gonna contort it and twist it way out of proportion. But
Yeah.
that's one point I wanted to make about, especially about the Ministry of Children and Families in British Columbia, is that there's certain expectation of parents. They tell you you've got to be consistent, accountable, reliable. You have to provide stability. Well, if the parent doesn't provide those things and the ministry takes your child away and a social worker goes to court and says, well, it wasn't a stable home, they weren't providing any consistency or stability or whatever, well, can we go to court and say the Ministry of Children and Families isn't providing these things for
Yeah.
Canada, for British Columbians, because they're highly inconsistent in their treatment of each family, even though I know each family's different. But, where rules should apply, rules should apply. Where rules shouldn't apply, rules shouldn't apply. Like saying one person can't bring their dog to the visit with their children, another person can, or one person isn't allowed to celebrate birthday parties with their child, but another person is allowed, and they're identical situations, or whatever. Or going into the courtroom saying one thing one day and saying another thing another day. And the fact that they can't provide a stable home for any of our children, because I know foster kids that have been in 11, 12 foster homes in 2 years. My daughter was moved 5 times in 1 year?
Yeah.
And they can't even make sure that our children are safe. For example, a child getting sexually assaulted in a foster care in a foster home that wasn't approved, where a criminal record check was never done prior to the child going in, is that them being, prudent parents? I don't think that they're living up to their very own standards. And plus, the chaos that was going on in the offices, in the administration of the ministry between 2002 and 2003, and look at it now. They make irrational decisions, spending thousands and thousands of dollars on the
Renovating
deputy minister's office.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
$550,000 for a new floor and a couple of doors.
That little girl that was sexually assaulted in the unapproved foster home where the criminal record check was never done doesn't get any counseling for that sexual assault, because the reason being that there's no money, because it was all spent on getting, the deputy minister's office fixed up. And I have nothing against the deputy minister. I think she's a nice lady. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that did they need to, their decision-making skills are squat.